What's up, pod people, and welcome to the Wheel of Time pod through. I'm Teresa.
And I'm Tim.
And together, we're going to walk through Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time book series. How you doing, Tim?
Doing okay. How about you?
I'm good. The weather in California took a drastic turn, and it went from 80s to, 60s. And it's finally feeling like the holiday season. I'm very, very excited about that.
Yeah, we actually have some snow on the mountains behind us, which is nice to have for the holidays.
Yeah, it's really cool. Anyway, before we get started, we just want to remind you that this is a reread. We assume that you've read the entire series, so there will be spoilers. You have been warned. Dun, dun, dun. All right, Tim. Apparently, I'm in a mood.
All right, well, let's do this.
What are we going to be doing in today's episode?
Today, we're going to be discussing chapters 31 and 32 of The Dragon Reborn, where Matt finds Tom, and the awesome of this book is instantly doubled.
Yay!
Chapter 30 is called The Woman of Tenchiko, and the icon is Tom's harp.
Here's a quick summary to act as a reminder for those of you who are not reading along with us. Matt ducks into the Woman of Tenchiko, and it's late enough that the common room is only a quarter full. Matt was surprised to find Tom Marilyn strumming a harp and reciting a story. Matt grabs a table and orders 2 mugs. When Tom finishes his story, he joins Matt, complaining about his listeners' low standards. Matt could see Tom had changed. He was drunk, and there was a careless sorrow about him that Matt had never seen before. 2 serving women come over, offering to take care of Tom, and he rambles about the 2 pretty women who loved him in his life, and how he squandered them both. Matt tells the serving women that he'll take care of Tom and orders 3 or 4 roast chickens. They talk, and Matt can see that Tom is not okay. He's depressed and full of whine and regret, talking about the trouble killing a man causes, deserving or not. Matt doesn't want to talk about killing after the attack he just survived, and asks Tom why he's in Tar Valon. Tom is full of self-pity and says that he's there because it's the worst place for him to be. He's waiting to run afoul of the Red Aja because it's what he deserves. Matt is disgusted with his bad attitude, but feels like he owes Tom for saving his life. Thinking a ship couldn't carry enough wine to keep Tom drunk, he asks Tom to accompany him to Camelin. He'd be in just as much trouble there as Tar Valon, if not more. Tom agrees that Camelin would be perfect, and snaps out of his funk a little bit. He's shocked to see that Matt has already demolished all of his chickens. He tells Matt to wait and try not to eat the table while he grabs his things and says his goodbyes. Outside, Matt sees that the corpse of his would-be killer is gone. Matt mentions something about footpads, and Tom lets him know that there are no thieves or strong arms in Tar Valon. The punishment is pretty harsh for street crime, so no one tries that game. Matt tells him that they will sail on the first ship they come to, no matter what. He thinks to himself that the men after him had to have been thieves. What else could they possibly have been?
Tom is back.
Yay!
I like how cinematic the reveal of Tom feels. It's like the camera sweeps the room, focuses on this harp, and pulls out until we see his face. It just feels like I'm watching a movie.
Okay.
Tom is not doing okay. He's openly drunk while performing and does not even bother to put his harp away and take care of it like he used to. This is not the Tom that Matt remembers.
When talking to the serving women, Tom talks about the 2 pretty women that have loved him. He says, quote, "Morghese had a temper, but I thought I could ignore that, so it ended with her wanting to kill me. Dina I killed. As good as. Not much difference. 2 chances I've had, more than most, and I threw them both away." Unquote. He is in a deep depression, grieving Dina. He's a true lost soul and feeling regret for starting the war in Cairhien.
Yeah, just in case you forgot, Tom totally assassinated the king of Cairhien.
Yeah.
And now that he's drunk, he feels the need to justify his actions to Matt. And he makes this comment, "Good and evil, light and shadow, we would not be human if there wasn't a balance." Drunkenness aside, this struck me as very deep. Jordan does a good job of personifying this concept throughout the entire series. There are the obvious bad guy examples of the Forsaken and Padan Fain, whose complete focus on themselves leads them to side with the Dark One to obtain more power than anyone else. We have the White Cloaks, whose complete and utter devotion to the light has corrupted them over the years and made them into a horrible paramilitary power. But we also see Rand walk through a journey of walking the line between being hard as stone and flexible and able to work with the rulers who come together as a unified front against the Dark One. And the older I get, the more this idea just resonates with me. Jordan sets up a complicated set of characters.
Yeah. Tom is being really self-pitying, and Mat isn't having any of it. But he does care about Tom, and he can't just leave him in this state.
Right.
Caemlyn plays into Tom's self-destructive mood, but Mat figures if he can sober Tom up long enough on the boat ride over, maybe he'll snap out of it.
Yeah, it's a good plan.
Yeah.
The exchange back and forth here is great. Like, neither of them want to talk about what they're thinking. Neither of them want to be in Tar Valon. And if we're being completely honest, neither of them really want to go to Caemlyn. Mat made a promise, so he will take care of the letter and then be off on his adventure. Tom is miserable with grief and exhibiting destructive behavior. But at least he can hang with Mat for a bit to try to keep him out of trouble. But none of this is spoken, because it doesn't have to be. Mat and Tom are a good pair because they understand each other. Mm-hmm. And it's great to see them reunited, even if it's not under the best of circumstances.
Yeah, definitely. So I have to mention the chickens.
Oh, yeah, the chickens.
Quote, the Gleeman glanced at the chicken platter and gave a start. What did you do, boy? Stuff them up your sleeve? There was nothing left of the three birds but bones and carcasses, with only a few strips of flesh remaining. Sometimes I get hungry, Mat muttered. I love how much food Mat is just shoveling in at this point. He keeps shocking everyone around him.
He's a grown boy.
Yeah.
Once Tom agrees to go with Mat, his whole demeanor changes.
Yeah.
Like, he walks away without a stagger. He comes back with his instruments in their cases and his bags packed in good order. And he could not be out of the inn fast enough. And suddenly, we have the old Tom back. Now the real fun can start.
I love the little turn that Jordan gives us with the serving women. Mat fancies himself as quite the ladies' man, always up for a kiss and a tickle with a pretty girl. He's been giving serving girls silver pence because they have pretty eyes and smiles. So when one of the serving women comes to him, she's grateful that he managed to rouse Tom out of his stupor. So she presses a silver mark into his hand for his pretty eyes, and because whoever's feeding him isn't doing a good enough job. It startles him that he's the one with the pretty eyes in this circumstance.
Yeah.
And I like what Jordan did there, especially because Mat takes it pretty well and laughs about it, you know? Like, it's a nice little gender flip without hitting us over the head with it.
I agree. It was nice and subtle.
Yeah, it's a cute little moment.
With the revelation that the body of Mat's would-be murderer from the previous chapter has been secretly taken away, we're back on the paranoia train. Mm-hmm. Mat does not even take the time to explain it to Tom. He's off on the docks to get on the first ship out of Tar Valon, regardless of where it is sailing to. Mat trusts Tom's knowledge of the world enough to know not to doubt what Tom says about footpads not being in Tar Valon. I like that he does not dismiss Tom right out on this. He just assumes Tom is right, so whatever was after him has to be much worse than a footpad.
Yeah, definitely.
And that wraps up Chapter 31. But before we get to Chapter 32, here's a quick word from our sponsors.
Today's episode of the Wheel of Time Pod Through is brought to you by Regicide. Killing the king got you down. You know what they say, mo killings, mo problems. Look on the bright side. Civil War brings job opportunities. You know, when it's all done with. Regicide. It's nothing to lose your head over.
Chapter 32 is called The First Ship, and the icon is the waves.
At the South Harbor dock, the dockmaster recognizes Mat and tells him he may as well turn right back around because he won't be allowed to board any ship. The first ship, the Grey Gull, was already casting off. Mat shoved the Amerlin's letter under the dockmaster's nose, telling him that he is on tower business and needed to catch that very ship. Mat goes tearing off down the dock and makes a running leap onto the departing ship's deck. Tom makes the jump as well, wondering what the hell's going on. And the captain is right behind him. He wants to chuck Matt and Tom overboard, but Matt pulls out the letter again and a gold crown beside for the inconvenience. The captain is from Tyr and not impressed with Tar-Valon business. He tells them that there is no room on his vessel. The few passenger cabins he has are full up. For another gold crown each, they can sleep on deck and eat with the crew. Tom argues, but Matt asks how much it would cost to kick someone out of the cabins and for decent meals. The captain laughingly tells him that for 10 crowns they can take his own cabin and his meals, knowing it was a ridiculously high sum. He is still laughing when Matt pulls out one of his purses and starts counting crowns into his hand. Matt overwhelms him with gold and cheekily tells the captain that he's welcome to join him and Tom for meals in his cabin. The captain, Huon Malia, takes Matt and Tom to get settled in his cabin and tries to dig for information. Despite Matt's claims to the contrary, Malia remains convinced that Matt is a young Andorran lord and possibly a messenger from Margase. He sang Tyr's praises and bashed every other country, except Andor, of course. He spoke a lot about the High Lord Saemon in Tyr and all of the anti-Aes Sedai propaganda he espouses, including that all Aes Sedai need to be eradicated. Matt makes a snarky comment in response that puts an abrupt end to the conversation. They bunk down, but Matt can't sleep. Too much had happened, and his mind couldn't stop mulling it all over. He heard faint noises of a scuffle from the deck overhead and footsteps coming down the passage toward their cabin. Matt grabs his quarterstaff as the door opens, revealing two men in cloaks with knives. They were not expecting to find anyone awake, and Matt caught the first man with a killing blow from his quarterstaff. He drove the end of the quarterstaff into the second man's throat. Before he can freak out about having killed the men, Matt hears more boots from the deck. He grabs one of the dead men's cloaks and goes up on the deck in disguise. Another cloaked man was at the ship's tiller. Matt mutters in a low, rough whisper that he's dead, and the man says he hopes that he squealed because that boy causes too much trouble. Matt recognizes the man's voice as one of the footpads in Tar-Valon. Matt clobbers him in the head with his quarterstaff, but sees another man with a knife by the railing. He couldn't get his staff around in time, but Tom arrives in the nick of time, throwing his knives and killing the man for Matt. There was a small boat tied to the Grey Gull with two more men. One of them shouts, "The great lord, take me, it's him!" And Tom loudly asks if Matt wants to kill them too. The men hear it and don't wait to untie the boat. They jump into the icy water and swim for it. Captain Malia comes running out, shouting about dead men in the passageway. Tom sneakily cuts the rope, and the small boat floats away in the darkness. Tom tries to sell the captain on a story about river brigands and that he and Matt saved the ship. Matt gets back to the cabin before the shaking starts, and he sinks to his knees, wondering what game is being played. He has to know what game he's playing if he's going to win. Rand is roasting a rabbit over a campfire and obsessively playing one song over and over on his flute. He had played it for all those weddings several villages back, and he wonders if all the weddings were real or if he was going mad already. Everyone said he was Ta'veren, and Moiraine had told him Ta'veren twist things around them, but that line of thinking was too close to thinking about being Dragon Reborn, and he was avoiding thinking about that. He wonders if it had really been Egwene that he had seen in his dream. He couldn't tell what was real and what wasn't anymore. Shadowspawn kept trying to kill him, wearing the faces of those he loved. He kept dreaming of Callandor and of Selene offering him glory. Too many nightmares to recount. He sat by the fire and kept playing his flute, afraid to sleep, afraid to dream.
One of the more fun aspects of how this Tom and Matt adventure starts out is how Tom is completely thrown by everything Matt does.
Yeah.
Matt is stopped by the dockmaster because Aes Sedai personally showed around a drawing of Matt, and Matt has a note from the Amyrlin seat with her personal seal and all. I think that one of the reasons Tom likes Matt so much is they're cut from the same cloth. I'm sure a young Tom Maryland would have gotten up to similar shenanigans himself, but only involving Andorran and Corinian royalty. Matt is in the thick of it with the Armelin seat herself, so Tom must be feeling a mixture of appreciation and fear for Matt. What do you think?
Yeah, totally. I think that Matt reminds Tom a lot about what he was like when he was younger.
Yeah. Matt jumps for it and lands on the deck of the ship. Tom does not quite make it to the deck, but he ends up grabbing onto the railing. All he has to say to Matt is, "You owe me a new stick," like a total badass. It's like a scene out of Lethal Weapon, the original one, and I half expect Tom to say, "I'm getting too old for this shit." It's just a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Matt's exchange with Captain Malia is epic. This guy wants nothing to do with Matt or Tom. He doesn't care a whit about Matt's letter from the Amyrlin, but money is universal.
Yes, it is.
He goes from laughing in Matt's face and threatening to throw him overboard to complete shock, thinking he must be a young lord in disguise and not wanting to offend him. Matt's crazy,
Yeah.
but he's got style. And telling him, "You're welcome to share Tom's meals and mine in your cabin," it was just icing on the cake. Sometimes Matt just can't help himself.
Yeah, that was nice. That was very nice.
Cheeky little bastard.
Everywhere we go, it's like someone is playing the game of houses. Like, granted, Matt is coming from Tar Valon, with a letter bearing the Amyrlin's personal seal, so it does make sense that the captain of the Grey Gull would expect that they are part of some plot. I just find it amusing that all 3 Two Rivers boys subvert everyone's expectations by not actually being up to any kind of Aes Sedai shenanigans. All Matt, Rand, or Perrin want to do is be free of Aes Sedai. And in Matt's mind, Elaine is not Aes Sedai yet, so delivering the letter does not count. Jordan gives us a basic rundown of the politics and economics of the part of the world we're going to be seeing over the next few books, as Matt lets Captain Malian keep talking, trying to figure them out. Malia talks about how Tyr has the best horses in the world, and Andor has the best metalworking. Andor also has gold mines, while Tyr does not and has to trade for it. And Ilion has enough of an agricultural base to be able to export olive oil, and is no friend to Tyr. We even get to learn about how Tyrian High Lords get to rule the land. All of that to say, this chapter got a bit heavy on the exposition, but I like how Matt just kind of soaks it all in, just in case he might need to know the information later. Matt is more concerned with figuring out what kind of a man Malia is, because Matt and Tom are going to be on this boat for a while, and it will be really good to know if they can trust him.
We get the setup for the end of this book and an intro to the High Lord Salmon and the anti-Aes Sedai sentiments he's been preaching. The White Tower needs to be destroyed and all Chandlers need to be eradicated. The High Lord Salmon has been very influential, and Malia describes him saying that he speaks so that he carries a man beyond his own beliefs. After Malia leaves, Tom says that he's never heard of the man, even though he knows the names of all the leaders, so he must be new. But it's odd for him to not have even heard of him. All of this is to let us know that dirty dealings are going down in Tyr.
Yes, they are.
More on that later.
Sometimes Jordan gives us these lovely little buzzers that we don't even realize are a thing until subsequent readings. When Tom says, quote, "Next you could try telling the Lord Captain Commander of the White Cloaks that he should marry the Amyrlin seat," unquote. And at this point in the story, we see both Galad and Egwene sparking on each other hardcore, so it wasn't too far off of a reality. I would have loved to see it if it actually come true, but it's still fun on a reread. Matt gets up because he hears the footsteps coming down the hall and is ready to face what is coming. I like that he still has his dad's voice in the back of his head. So much has changed about him since he was healed. This clues us into what about him has not changed. Matt is still raised by a father who taught him how to defend himself, but to only kill only if absolutely necessary. And the fact that he does this quick morality check lets us know that he's still trying to live up to his father's example of what it means to be good.
We've been talking a lot about what a badass Matt has become, and he definitely keeps up his hero status during the attack, taking out multiple assailants. But what stuck out to me is that he doesn't get caught up in the heat of battle. He doesn't get excited or bloodlusty. Instead, his blood runs cold and he gets quiet. When it's over, he barely makes it back to his cabin before collapsing. He's evolving, but Matt is still very much the boy from the Two Rivers.
Yeah.
He's never killed like this before, and it's a big step. He's growing up really fast, but everything that has happened on this night is a lot to process all at once. It would overwhelm anyone.
Absolutely.
But Matt is still a young man with very little experience. All of a sudden, people have been sent to kill him, and he really has no idea what's going on.
It's got to be such a trip.
Yeah. Like, this is a lot. Like, he's responsible for killing, 4 or 5 guys all in the same night, on top of all the other stuff that was happening.
Yeah, and the fact that they were sent to kill him.
Yeah. Like, it's a lot to process.
Yeah. And then, continuing the theme that Rand is being driven crazy, he's having all kinds of dreams where everyone he knows is trying to kill him.
Yeah, that sucks.
But it's Min that hits him hardest, because he knows out of everybody, she would never hurt him. From the very beginning of the series, Min connects with him in a way no one else does. I still stand by my opinion that Min was the best fit for him as a love interest.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Out of the 3, Min is by far the best and probably should have been the only.
That's it for chapters 31 and 32 of The Dragon Reborn. Join us next week to discuss chapters 33 and 34, where we get back to Perrin and Min's vision starts coming true.
We hope that you enjoyed this episode of the Wheel of Time Pod Through.
We'll see you again next week. Make sure that you rate and subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts or whatever your favorite podcatcher might be. If you could leave us a positive review, it would really help us out. It makes us more visible so more people can find us. You can tweet us at WhatPodThrough or email us at whatpodthrough@gmail.com and tell us your thoughts on anything we covered today.
That's WOTPODTHRU@gmail.com, or find our Wheel of Time Pod Through channel on YouTube. Like, subscribe, ring the bell, do the things. Thanks, everybody, and we hope the wheel weaves you in our direction again soon.